book that changed my life was Andre Agassi's book.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that he did, he went from being highly ranked tennis player to being ranked 127th in the world. He wasn't even in the top 100. He dropped so far down. It was injuries. He had a drug problem. He went through a divorce from Brooke Shields. Like, he had a lot of problems, and he dropped out of the top 100. And then he came back, and he beat out Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky for Sportsman of the Year, and became the #1 tennis player. He attributes it to one singular thing. Every single morning before he worked out, he wrote down his goals. I will be, to be this specific, I will beat Pete Sampras at Wimbledon on May 17th, 6-3, 6-5, 6-3. That specific. So we started doing it. We wrote down our revenue numbers, our gross margin, our net margin, what we would sell for, what we would acquire other companies for. When you write it down, it crystallizes it.
It's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. So as you were going through that process, that also aligned everybody with a consistent vision, right? So if you're writing down all your goals and your numbers, is that how you decided on OKRs? I know this is a really tactical question, but I'm always interested in business operating systems and what people choose to use. What was it about OKRs that made that, the right operating system for you guys?
Yeah. Well, to answer the first part of your question there, yes, everybody in the organization knew the 3 goals that we were getting to: revenue, gross profit, net profit. That's how transparent we were. Everybody saw that vision. Yep. And the OKRs, I can't say that we were doing them technically. I think it was Intel was, who came up with the whole system to begin with. But each one of our managers, our criteria for the OKRs would be, hey, it could be really simple. It could take you 5 minutes to do your OKR this quarter, but it has to be something absolutely meaningful that moves the ball.
Interesting. Okay. Did you bring somebody in to help you through that process, or was that a homegrown, we're gonna pay attention to it ourselves and do our own homework?
Our advisory board brought this to us.
It's great.
I mean, even that single thing, we always look for a cost benefit for something. All right, I paid $300 for my TV, but I've had it for 27 years. It paid off, right? We're always looking for, did we get the most out of it? And I don't know what we were paying our advisory board members, $15,000 a year, something like that. Nothing crazy for 3 board members. It might have been under $50,000 but that one piece of advice of using the OKRs. This is somebody that was an executive at CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. He said, there's one thing that made our organization go, and clarity and just simplicity, is using these OKRs. That changed things for us. So we got our, $50,000 worth of, advisory fees per year in that one piece of advice.
Yeah. Okay, last question for you. How did you balance the vision? You knew what you wanted to do. How did you balance that with all of the new ideas and things? Because as an entrepreneur, that's always the challenge, right? We've got too many ideas, too many great things coming at us, and just being able to manage and stay focused. How did you do that? How did you do that with clarity like you're talking about? Was it just the fact that you wrote it down, you were super consistent?
Yeah, not to oversimplify things, but I'll simplify it into one word: discipline.
Yeah.
You got to have discipline. And yes, writing it down. That's what is that more than discipline? Man, every single day, doing your push-ups, your sit-ups. What is it? It's exercise. It's chest. No, it's discipline, right? You just got to be consistent with that and commit to it. But if you wrote it down, right, and then you've got all these ideas flying in at you, and which one are you, you're juggling this, you're trying to catch this, you're trying to avoid that one. Which one? Well, you've already got a clear map that you wrote out in January, so you know the direction that you're going to go. And hey, maybe an acquisition that's happening in Arizona is not part of the game plan, right? We didn't want to go that far west to manage it. It wasn't on the blueprint. It's kind of an easy one to say no to.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy. I shouldn't say that, but you should know the answer from your blueprint.
Yeah, the discipline is the right answer, but the writing it down, having an advisory board, and telling everybody that plan creates an environment of accountability. And so that's the other side of that. There's a whole lot of people who are individually disciplined, but when you tell the world and you bring people to hold you accountable to it, that's the other side of, success that I think you've really brought up some great points about. How do you surround yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable to it?
Yeah.
Man, Ryan, this has been so helpful. I hope that all of our listeners are going to be able to apply some of these things. I am always curious, and I always ask if there's anything that you would recommend for these folks. Stop listening right now, go do the next thing. What would you recommend that they go do? I would imagine that sounds like write the goals out, but I just want to say, is there anything else that you would say as an immediate next step to go do?
Well, I'll say this. This is again, the shoemakers, the shoeless shoemaker, because I couldn't quite solve for this problem myself. But you think you know the answers, but managing the different generations. I felt like at the very end, like I wasn't in touch with that newest generation, and I need to find some people. Because I remember saying to a woman, she was just out of college, and I said, "Hey, there's one book that really helped me." And I said, "You're a fan of Andre Agassi?" And she says, "Yeah, I don't really follow soccer too closely." I said, "Oh man, I'm using anecdotes. I'm using stuff that he was an athlete in the '80s, so I couldn't really blame her too much." But I thought to myself, boy, I've got to get a little bit more relevant. And I'll tell you, I think that understanding this new generation and creating that culture, man, I know my strengths, but I know my weaknesses better. And I'll tell you, it was just like, hey, you need to do better. Great, get into the office at 5 a.m. and work till midnight.